What's good? It's your boy Jay, that's me. Let's get into TNA Impact, the first episode of the new year from January the 2nd, 2025. A pretty okay episode for the most part. We are about 2.5 weeks away until Genesis, which is shaping up to be good. And it seems like this year TNA is going to take some chances on themselves. And hopefully they do get their TV deal sometime this year. If not, definitely next year. We should know, if you don't know, everybody should know that TNA is going to lose some talent, basically. So Jordynne Grace is done in the next couple of weeks. Josh Alexander and his wife, they are done in February sometime. Trent Seven is gone just about. He'll be done. And Kushida is leaving as well. I think a couple other people. Oh, yeah, Rhino's leaving as well, too. So we got quite a few spots open that'll open up in the next couple of months, which is great. So I do like that. I've always said that TNA needs some fresh talent. It's time for them to bring in some new guys and some fresh blood. So hopefully that is their main game plan throughout this year. And we will see how all that goes, because they are going to be running bigger venues, especially for their pay-per-view. I think they're going to do it for 2 pay-per-views, Rebellion and I believe Slammiversary. So they have 4 months to work that out for a Rebellion, and then they have 6 months to get things figured out for Slammiversary in July. But we'll have to wait and see. Let's not rush anything. So, like I said before, this was an okay show for the most part. So we kicked the show off with Joe Hendry. He comes out, gets on the mic, says the final resolution was a promise to himself that he would become TNA World Champion. He says TNA Genesis is all about a new beginning, the beginning of the Joe Hendry era, and it will end with everyone chanting, "We believe." And what they believe in is a new world champion. So Ryan Nemeth, his sorry ass comes out, and he just basically whines and complains about how Joe Hendry's moaning and groaning and ruining the reputation of his brother, Nic Nemeth. So Ryan says he knows that Joe Hendry thinks he's a hero, but he's not a hero or a main eventer. He's a mid-carder, which is a bunch of bullshit. The jobber here in this situation is Ryan Nemeth. That's just what it is. So Ryan Nemeth calls Joe Hendry a snake. He says he plays mind games to get ahead. He says nobody should trust him. Joe Hendry asks everyone who wants to hear a story. Joe Hendry says he went to the doctor because he had trouble sleeping. He says the doctor asked if he watched the Ryan Nemeth comedy special. He says if he's a mid-carder, then he's the janitor, which was a great laugh. I love that. Excellent. I laughed at that. Good shit. Joe Hendry then tells Ryan Nemeth to mop up the floor and get him a coffee. He said that's enough ceiling TV time for him. Ryan Nemeth said he's going to beat the TNA Hall of Famer Rhino, and he's going to get all the glory he wants. Joe Hendry asks who wants to see Rhino versus Ryan Nemeth right now. The fans cheer, and then Joe Hendry asks for the music, and then Rhino comes out. Who cares? This is a pretty good way to start the show. I'm a fan of Joe Hendry. TNA, they have got to put the world title on Joe Hendry in 2.5 weeks. They have got to fucking do it. They have got to. They cannot waver from this. They cannot. They have to put their foot on the gas and keep it going. I get my bad. I get Nic Nemeth's been there for a year. But he has got to drop the title to Joe Hendry. Like, seriously, if they are trying to go to bigger venues and get a new TV deal and whatnot, you've got to put the title on Joe Hendry. Joe Hendry is the biggest star, the most over star that you have. He's way more over than Nic Nemeth. Moving on. So, this leads us into the first match of the night, which was a DQ. Ryan Nemeth defeated Rhino via DQ because Rhino used the steel chair that Ryan Nemeth brought in, and Rhino hit him with the steel chair. Who gives a shit? Fuck this. Moving on. So, Gia Miller, she's backstage with Jordynne Grace. So, Gia Miller talks about the return of Tessa Blanchard. Jordynne says she abandoned the company, and now she's back to reap the benefits, talking about Tessa Blanchard. Jordynne Grace says she's not the same Jordynne from 5 years ago, but she knows she's the same old Tessa. She says she'll be there to give her a nice, warm welcome that she truly deserves. Okay, that's cool. Good stuff there. Again, I'm glad that TNA brought in Tessa Blanchard. Hopefully, they bring more people in. They need to bring in Mandy Rose. They need to try to bring in Lacey Evans and others. They've also Indy Hartwell. There are people that they can bring in. I would bring in established stars first, and then once they have brought those guys and girls in, then they can progress and bring in indie talent. That's what they should do. Moving on. So the Rascals, they're backstage. So Trey Miguel says the tag titles are being held by the absolute best. Trey Miguel asked what the fans think about the Rascals versus the Hardys for the TNA Tag Team Championships. The Hardys come up to them, and Matt Hardy says they remind him of them. Matt Hardy says there's a show coming up in Dallas, Texas called Genesis. He says the Hardy train is moving full steam ahead, and nothing's going to stop them. But if they do, they'll beat the GOATs in tag team wrestling. Trey says get ready for a tag team classic. Nice. Good shit here. Love this. Great. Moving on. Ace Austin defeats Kushida in a very, very long match. So Ace Austin wins via the fold. So Ace Austin, he gets on the mic. He says that he needs to take a moment to thank everyone for the love and support that they've shown Chris Bay. He says every day he fights for a normal life. He says 3 months ago when Chris got hurt, he looked at him with tears in his eyes, that being Chris Bay, and he told him to go on a singles run and win the big one. Yes, he's talking about the TNA World Heavyweight Championship, which is fucking awesome. This is great. So Ace Austin says they've been top guys in this company for a long time, but it's not. My bad. Ace Austin says they've been top guys in this company for a long time, but now he wants to be the top guy. He says he wants Nic Nemeth, so Moose comes out, his star ass comes out. Moose says he's disappointed that he didn't choose, say his name, mention his name. Moose says the TNA X Division Championship is the flagship championship of TNA, and without it, it wouldn't be the hottest company right now. Moose says when Ace talked about the top title, Moose is holding the top title. Moose says that Ace Austin's scared of him, and he can go after Nic Nemeth. So he can go after Nic Nemeth. So Moose is about to say something about Chris Bay, but then Ace Austin tells him that he should not, and he dares him not to. Ace Austin says that he's a 3-time X Division champion, and he can be a 4th-time champion right now. So Santino Marella comes out. He says this is not the place for time. He says at Genesis it's going to be Moose versus Ace Austin for the TNA X Division Championship. Okay, cool. Ace Austin needs to win this, and then whoever wins between Joe Hendry and Nic Nemeth, hopefully Joe Hendry, I would love for it to be Joe Hendry versus Ace Austin at, I would say, Rebellion. I think that'd be pretty cool. But Ace Austin, he's earned it. Ace Austin is great. He's been with TNA for a good, I want to say a good 6 years. I think he came in 2018, so basically 6 to 7 years. He's been there for a while. Him and Chris Bay. I think they both came in around the same time and same year. If my memory serves me right. I think Chris Bay may have came in like the summer of that year. I think Ace Austin, I think he came in around like I wanted to say he came in early 2020. Early 2018. I want to say like maybe between January and March of that year. But this is great. I do like this. I don't like Moose, but I do like what they're trying to do with Ace Austin. Moose is garbage. He fucking sucks. Moving on. So, Eric Young, he's backstage with Steve Maclin, his lame ass. That being Eric Young. Steve Maclin is pacing. Jonathan Gresham walks up to both of them and tells them to calm down. And then the system, they walk up to them. And then there's a massive brawl that takes place. Who gives a shit? Fuck this. Moving on. Jordynne Grace, she is seen in the parking lot waiting for Tessa Blanchard. All right, cool. Moving on. So, this leads us to a backstage segment with Ryan Nemeth. He's complaining to Nic Nemeth about Rhino using a steel chair. Rhino comes in and says that Ryan introduced the steel chair. Santina Morella comes in and says this could all be solved. Joe Hendry comes in and suggests that he teamed with Rhino and that this could be a preview for Genesis. Okay, that's fine. So, I'll assume next week Joe Hendry and Rhino, they win. And then that's when that's when Nic Nemeth finally turns heel. And the Nemeth brothers, they beat the shit out of Rhino. And that's how we get Rhino off of television. That's probably what's going to happen anyway. Moving on. So this leads us into a long promo segment involving Josh Alexander and Mike Santana. So Mike Santana comes out. He gets on the mic. He says that he was backstage pacing a little bit, trying to find the words about what happened at Final Resolution. So he says he figured he did what he does best and speak from the heart. He says people expect him to be pissed off, and he is. He says whether it was with going to rehab or to he beat it. And when other people thought it would be career suicide, he came to TNA and he beat it. So Josh Alexander, he comes out along with the Northern Armory. So Josh says some people say that they want to be the guy, but very few can rise to the occasion and obtain it. Josh says he's always liked Mike Santana, as he's got heart. They're cut from the same cloth. He talks about the wars between LAX and the North years ago. Josh says the LAX were sent packing and erased from history. He says Santana went and bet on himself and he did nothing, referring to his time in AEW, which is basically 10,000% correct because he didn't do jack shit in AEW, but waste away. He would have been better off at that time going to NXT at the time. Josh Alexander continues on by saying that Mike Santana has won 0 championships since leaving TNA. Josh says he fought week after week and became TNA champion. He says he didn't complain about the obstacles in his path. He beat Minoru Suzuki, and he beat Bronson Reed, a.k.a. Jonah. I don't know why he didn't call him Jonah. He should have, but it is what it is. Josh says Mike Santana will never be the guy. So Mike Santana gets involved and says that Josh was right and he did nothing, while Josh did everything. He asked him, was it him or was it because he was kissing ass with the man with the pencil, talking about Scott D'Amore, which was great, which is 10,000% true. He says it was him because he knows exactly who he is. He says he knows that he can whoop all three of their asses. Pause. And he suggested all three of them face him next week in a gauntlet match next week. Okay, this is fine. This makes perfect sense. Josh is on his way out, so this should be a little mini feud. This should be his final feud that he goes in and loses. We don't know when in February his contract is up. We don't know when. I would imagine it would be up probably either early February or the middle part of February. Either way, they could do an angle to where Mike Santana beats Josh Alexander at Genesis, which is where they're going with this. And then this would lead for their second and final match. I would do like a loser leaves TNA. I would do that on a random episode of TNA Impact, and that's where we see Josh Alexander lose, and then him and Jade. Him and Jade, they leave. So maybe that's how it happens. Moving on. Jordynne Grace, she's backstage still in the parking lot, waiting for Tessa Blanchard. So, Spitfire and Masha Slamovich, they show up. And they're going to go get ready for their match because their match is up next. Santino Marella, he comes in and says, don't worry about it. He'll take care of it. And then he calls for a security guard and tells them to be on guard. Moving on. So, Nic Nemeth. No, my bad. Not Nic Nemeth. Frankie Kazarian, his lame ass, he's backstage. He says he knows everyone's buzzing about the World Championship at Genesis, but he'll be watching, waiting for the perfect moments. He says he sees Leon Slater and tells him he appreciates him. He says he needs coaching, and he'll be doing that. Leon says he's down for it. Kazarian says his trophy is heavy, so could he be his trophy bearer? Leon says that's not him. He's not there to be a young boy. He wants to create his own legacy. Frankie Kazarian tells him to go on the road, but not forget who paved it. Leon says he might just pass him on that road, and then JDC walks up, which is Johnny Dango Curtis. He says that he's a good kid, and they both think about Leon, which is kind of weird, but I don't fucking know. I don't care about any of this. Moving on. So, Nic Nemeth, he comes out. He talks about they got a number one contender for Genesis. It's Joe Hendry. Nic Nemeth says the people have been behind him every step of the way. He believes in Joe Hendry as well. He says at Mount for Glory they went toe-to-toe with each other in what may have been the biggest match of his career. Nic Nemeth says that he's proud of Joe Hendry and he knows what he's capable of. He says he goes out there to outdo everyone every night, which is why he is TNA World Champion. He says he's going out there to steal the show and stay the champion. He says Santino Marella made a tag match. The Nemeth brothers versus Rhino and Joe Hendry. So Ryan, his lame ass, once again comes out. He says that Joe Hendry is a snake who will stab him in the back. He says that they will show next week that the Nemeth name is synonymous with wrestling greatness. Nick tells him to calm down and says this match happened because of him. Nick leaves, and then Ryan says his brother is upset because of all of them. Okay, who cares about this? This just solidifies Nic Nemeth's heel turn. It has to. And that's what needs to happen. They've got to turn Nic Nemeth heel quick, fast, and hurry. And they don't have time. They don't have a long time frame to do it. So they have to do it next week. And this is fine. Moving on. So we see the security guard taken out backstage in the parking lot, and Santana Marella is pissed off. All right, moving on. Main event of the evening. So, basically, Santana Marella, we're backstage. He says that we need more security and everything else. So, basically, Tom Hannafin thinks that it's Tessa Blanchard, but he never confirmed that it was her. So, the main event was an 8-woman tag. Masha Slamovich, Jordynne Grace, and Spitfire. They defeated Rosemary, Tasha Steelz, and Ashley and Heather by elegance. And then post-match, Tessa Blanchard, she shows up and she beats the shit out of Jordynne Grace. And a brawl ensues in the ring with the other knockouts. So Tessa continues to beat down on Jordynne Grace, and then she drags her out of the building, throws her on the outside, and tells her she's taking her locker room back. And then she pulls the garage door down and storms through backstage. She shoves people, and she is yelling, and she tells people to get out of her way, and that was the end of the show. Okay, cool. I like this. So Tessa Blanchard is going to be the one to send Jordynne Grace packing, which makes perfect sense. I do like this. This is excellent. I would imagine this is setting up Tessa versus Masha Slamovich either at Rebellion or at Slammiversary, one of the two. So I do like this. This was an okay show. So Tessa Blanchard showing up is great. I like that. The Nic Nemeth heel turn that's coming is great. I do like that. Joe Henry being on the show is great. I don't care about, Steve Macklin and all these other guys, the system. I just don't care about those guys. Mike Santana and Josh Alexander, those guys are mid-carders. They just are. I could see Mike Santana actually being X Division champion sometime this year. So maybe that's the route that they go with him. But we'll have to wait and see. Everything else on the show was okay. But what did you guys think of TNA? Like, comment, subscribe. Peace.